This is a story that I loved very much growing up, and one of the wonderful things being a storyteller is that sometimes you can tell a story that you fell in love with. It's a fairy tale. And of course, fairy tales start in a very special way. They start with the words, "Once upon a time." And when I hear "once upon a time," I know that we're entering a world where magic can happen. I know that when I hear "once upon a time," animals can talk. When I hear "once upon a time," I know that things in the story may happen once, they may happen twice, but if they happen 3 times, everything changes. Once upon a time, there lived 2 young girls, and they lived all alone with their mother in the middle of the deep woods. They didn't have a father. Now, one of the girls' names was Snow White, and her sister was Rose Red, and they were named after the 2 rose bushes that grew outside their mother's house, one with white roses and one with red. Now, even though they were sisters, they were as different can be. Snow White, she was very quiet. She was very shy. She liked to sit by the fire and read, and she loved to dream. But her sister, Rose Red, completely different. Rose Red had rosy red cheeks and always wanted to be the first one to do everything. Yeah. Well, it was a winter's evening, the middle of the winter, and there was a terrible blizzard going on outside the little cottage. The wind was howling and it was cold, and the snow was falling so deep. It was piling up on the windowsills. It was not a time to be outside at all. And the whole family was sitting in front of the fireplace, trying to warm their hands, when suddenly they all heard, "Mother," said Snow White. "There's somebody at the door." "Mother," said Rose Red, "there's somebody at the door. Should we answer it?" "Well," said the mother, "it might be someone out lost in the middle of this terrible blizzard. All right, girls, you can answer the door." Well, of course, Rose Red was the first one over to the door. And this was the old days. You didn't have a round doorknob. You had a metal bar called a latch. And you would take a hold of that metal bar, you would lift it up. It lifted up another metal bar, click, and then the heavy wooden door swung open. And in came the wind. In came the snow and the cold. But instead of a person, a big brown bear stuck his head right in the door. Snow White and Rose Red jumped back, and their mother stepped in front of them to protect them. But the bear only said, "Please, I'm so cold. Yeah, it's really cold outside. Can't I come lie down by your nice fire?" Said the mother, "All right." "Mother," said Snow White, "that is a bear." "Mother," said Rose Red, "it's a bear." I know it's a bear, but that is one polite bear." And do you know, it was one polite bear. The bear said, "Thank you so much, man." And then he wiped off his big paws so he wouldn't get the floor wet. And then that bear lumbered in and flopped his huge brown body right down in front of the fire. Snow White and Rose Red couldn't believe it. There was a bear in their house. Rose Red got an idea. She tiptoed over to the bear and she poked poked the bear. It's real! It's real! It's real! So then Snow White had to tiptoe over the bear and poke it. Whoop! It is real. I just felt real. Well, when they poked the bear went, oh, who poked me? Poop. Who poked me? When they poked the bear, they felt how soft. Ooh, bear fur is really soft. And they got the idea to play the tickle game with the bear. And the tickle game is where you tickle someone until they say, oh no, please stop. They went over to the bear and they went, Gucci, Gucci, goo, Gucci, Gucci, goo, Gucci, 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 goo. The bear went, whoa, oh, please stop. When they tickled the bear, they felt how soft and deep. Whoa, bear fur is really deep. They got the best idea of all. Play run and jump on the bear. They went as far as they could to the other side of the cottage to get a good running start. And then they ran and jumped with both feet on the bear. Woo! And then they ran and jumped with both feet on the bear. Woo! And then they ran and jumped with both feet on the bear. Woo! And they kept running and jumping with both feet on the bear. Woo! And the bear went, whoa! Every time they jumped underneath, the bear went, whoa! Every time they jumped underneath, the bear went, whoa! The bear was like, whoa! The bear was like, whoa! Well, fortunately for the bear, it was time for those girls to go to sleep. But when they got up the next morning, the bear was still there. And it was Snow White. She was the one who got to lift the latch and watch him run off through the snow. But he came back every single night, and they got to play all their favorite games. But maybe you know how when the snow melts in the spring, the ground gets soft and muddy. The bear was starting through the door and he said, Snow White, I can't come back tonight. In the spring, when the ground is soft and muddy, the little people who live under the ground will come up and try to steal my treasures. I have to guard my treasures. Oh, we're so sorry. We're going to miss you, dear bear. And the bear started through the door, but as he did, his fur caught on the latch. His fur started to tear. Snow White quickly lifted his fur off the latch, but his fur had torn. And underneath his fur, Snow White saw he was shining like he was made out of gold underneath, and then he was gone. Snow White and Rose Red's mother, she often didn't feel well, and that meant that the girls had to help her. And sometimes that meant they had to walk all the way through the woods and into the town on errands. And that's just what was happening one day. The two girls were walking arm in arm through the forest when suddenly they heard,
Help! Help, 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 help! Hey, you girls! Get over here! Can't you see I'm stuck? Help me!
It was the tiniest little man you could believe, and his long snowy white beard was stuck in a tree stump. He couldn't get his beard out. He was jumping back and forth like a frog.
Help! Hey, you girls! Don't stand there like a couple of moo cows. Moo! Help me! Ah!
Well, the girls went rushing over. They got a hold of his beard. They tried to pull it out, but it was completely stuck. It wasn't until Snow White remembered she had her scissors. Everybody, pull out your scissors. Oh, your scissors look like mine. They're made by hand. Pull out your scissors. We're going to cut off the end of the little man's beard. Set him free. Be brave. Get ready. Did he thank them? Was he nice at all?
You girls, look what you did. You cut off the end of my beautiful snowy white beard. You girls are bad. You're bad. Bad, 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 bad. You're bad. Bad luck to you.
And the little man grabbed a sack full of precious gold and disappeared under a rock. Snow White and Rose Red felt awful. He just yelled at them. He said that they were bad girls. They weren't bad girls. They were only trying to help. They didn't want to see that little man again, but 2 weeks later, walking through the woods, what should they hear but
Help! Help, 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 help! You girls, get over here! Can't you see I'm being pulled into the water by my beard by this fish?
The little man's beard was all tangled up in some fishing line, and a great big fish was trying to tug him beard first into the water.
Quick! You girls, get over here! Don't stand there like some gooses! Get over here and help me!
Well, the girls went rushing over to try to untangle that beard. But if you've ever seen a bad tangle, this was the worst. They couldn't untie his beard. It wasn't until they both pulled out their scissors. Help me out. Bop, 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 boo. Let's cut off the end of that beard. Did he thank them? Was he nice at all?
You girls! Look what you did! You cut off most of my beautiful snowy white beard! You girls are bad. That's what you are. You're bad, 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 bad! Bad luck to you!
And he grabbed a sack full of precious pearls that was hidden by that riverbank, and he disappeared under a rock. Snow White and Rose Red felt awful. He just said something not nice. He said bad luck to you, and no one wants bad luck, and they already had a difficult life. Their mother was sick most of the time. They didn't want to see that little man again, but 2 weeks later, their mother said to them, "Girls, would you go into town for me? Would you get me some red ribbon?" And of course, you know they would go, because they were good girls. But as they were walking through the woods, what should they hear but
help! Help, 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 help! Help! Get over here, you girls! Quick! Get over here! I'm being pulled up into the sky by this eagle!
An eagle had its claws right in the little man's clothes, and it was beating its great wings, trying to drag him straight up into the sky. The girls went rushing over, but those claws were deep into his clothes. It wasn't until boop, ba, ba, beep, ba, ba. Help me out, everybody! Ksh, 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 wah! Did he thank them? Was he nice at all?
Look what you did! You cut so many holes in my clothes I look like a paper doll! Or sort of. You girls are bad. That's what you are! You're bad, 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 bad. Bad luck to you!
And he grabbed a sack full of the most precious jewels and disappeared under a rock. Snow White and Rose Red bought the red ribbon. But as they were returning home, they surprised the little man. He hadn't seen them. He was crawling out on a rock, and he was pulling out his treasures.
Gold, precious jewels, pearls, woo.
Snow White and Rose Red couldn't believe how beautiful they were, but the little man saw them looking, and he always thought bad things.
You girls, you're spying on me. That's what you're doing because you're bad girls. Bad, 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 bad.
He was about to say bad luck to you when out of the woods it came. A big brown bear.
Uh-oh. Bear. Don't come near me, bear. Bear, don't come near me. Don't come near. I said don't come near me. Bear, don't come near me. Here, take a treasure. Take 5 treasures. Take the whole bag of treasures. Take a girl. Take 2, they're small.
But the bear went right over to the little man, gave him a cuff, which is a light tap. The little man vanished. The little man disappeared. The only thing that was left were the treasures. Snow White and Rose Red were frightened. They didn't know what was happening. They started to run away, and the bear said, "Snow White, Rose Red, don't you recognize me?" and they saw it was their old friend, the bear. And as the bear started walking towards them, it suddenly reared up on its hind legs and began walking as people do, and suddenly the bear skin fell off, and there was a young man dressed in golden clothes. Snow White and Rose Red, I was a prisoner in this bear skin until I should have my treasures back. But now I am myself again. I have a castle near here. Come, live near me, be my friends. And so Snow White and Rose Red went and lived near the Bear Prince. And of course they invited their mother because they were good girls. And when she was old enough, Snow White married the Bear Prince. And what about Rose Red? Well, she married the Bear Prince's brother. He was a lot of fun, and they never had bad luck after that. I'm telling you, they only had good luck. In fact, I think we know how this fairy tale should end. They all lived, here we go, happily ever after. The end.